From MicrobeTV, this is Office Hours for Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. I'm Vincent Racaniello, and welcome to your viral corner of the internet, where you can ask any question about viruses or science. Maybe we can find an answer, or talk about anything at all that bugs you, because usually it resonates with someone here. I'm Vincent Racaniello. Hello, everyone. Did you have a good week? Nice election results here in the U.S., I would say. But I won't talk about politics because this is all about science. But stay out of my science, politicians. You can't bear to do it, right? Because you control the purse strings. Okay, fine. Thanks for coming, everyone. Let's see which moderators are here tonight. We have... Where are they? Vanity Nutrition, welcome. Thanks for coming. We have Tom Steinberg. We have Les Fabi. Thank you for coming here and moderating and keeping this a civilized discourse. Tell us where you're from. I will shout you out. Love to say hello to all of you. What's on tap for tonight? We're going to have... I have one news item I want to discuss with you all. It's an interesting development. It's a scientific development. We'll talk about it. And we have a mini lecture on tick-borne viral infections. Yeah. In fact, the news item I have tonight gives me an idea for another mini lecture. Let's see who's here. Will is in Changsha, China, 31C and cloudy. By the way, here in New Jersey, where we have a new Democratic female governor, second in the history of the state. Virginia also has a female Democratic governor. California passed the redistricting. And you know, the frickin' Republicans are calling it rigging, as if they don't rig everything themselves. They're stinking liars. It's unbelievable. That's it. That's my last rant about that anyway. I want to look up the weather. 15C and pretty clear. A little bit windy tonight. Got the little whooshes on the weather app. Lots of you talking about the last twin, right? Air pollution triggers dementia. It's kind of sad, right? Because here we thought that getting a varicella zoster vaccine would decrease the incidence of dementia, which it does. But then we have pollution, air pollution, clearly in people associated with dementias, two kinds, Lewy body and Parkinson's, and in a mouse model also causing dementias and protein misfolding. So, you know, pollution is an industrial byproduct. And, you know, in the U.S., we have had legislation to limit it. And this has all been turned around now by the Republicans, who want nothing except to stimulate business. Nothing else matters. Humanity doesn't matter. Obviously, they don't want people to eat. They don't want people to have health care. They have parties in Florida like it's Great Gatsby. They don't care about people. And I don't understand why a single person voted for any Republican candidate in this past election. It makes zero sense to me. Okay. What was I saying? I forgot. Anyway, the dementia. Everyone's susceptible. Doesn't matter what party you're in, you're going to be susceptible to dementia. So you better keep funding science. Actually, that paper came out of China. Lots of great stuff coming out of China lately. They know what's important in the world. They know science is what drives the world. They're not screwing around with dicking with science like people are in this country. It is the most frustrating thing I've ever seen in my whole career. My 50 years in science, I've never seen anyone tinkering with the NIH, destroying it, in fact. Makes zero sense. 0 cents Totally. It just shows that the people in charge are ignoramuses. Yes. Anyone read about the new bat coronavirus out of South America with a furin cleavage site? Yeah. Another loss for the lab leakers. As I said before, they never had a shred of evidence for a lab leak. Nothing. I don't care how loud they shout. They had nothing. They can call me silly, dumb, whatever they want. The fact is, the evidence shows it is a spillover from a live animal market. There's no question. It did not come from a lab. And I will say that till my dying breath. And I will, because it's important that people realize they're wrong. They're wrong. Yeah, so this one has a furin cleavage site. Further evidence that coronaviruses in bats have furin cleavage sites. So it's not a smoking gun for lab manipulation. Hello, Questella from Iowa/Illinois. Good to see you. Dagfinn over in Oslo, Norway, where it's rainy 11C at 2 a.m. Kang is in Chicago, 10C. Yes, depressed by the twin episode on air pollution and dementia. Shingrix is not enough, but get it anyway. You know, air pollution is not 100%. Nothing is 100% except death. So you can still, get the Shingrix vaccine and tell your legislator to regulate air pollution. It's not just the U.S., it's all over the world. Razor Gin is in Sacramento, where it's 60 Fahrenheit and raining. Questella says, people on the lab leak nonsense watch too much TV. Well, I don't know what they're watching. Maybe they're watching a sport that makes them mentally numb. I don't know. Tom is in the Oregon Coast Range. Chinook salmon in the creek to spawn. Running on batteries. Wow. Pete is in London. Mild and 15C at 1 a.m. March 716 in Virginia. Yeah, female governor. By a good margin, too. It's a referendum on Agent Orange. Sandra Metz is here. Hello, welcome. Martha Beck, 61 with a big moon in Charleston, South Carolina. Happy about last night's pushback against advancing autocracy. Visto Tutti is in Sydney. It's raining a bit. Hello, Vanity Nutrition. Good to see you. Hope you're feeling better. Feeling crummy today. Sore throat and some congestions. How many fingers do I have up? Peace. MN is in Washington, D.C. Jeff is in Elgin, Illinois, 7C and partly cloudy. Pete, would you do a snippet of the snippet on the latest twin? So in epidemiological studies, they looked at the incidence of a certain kind of air pollution. PM, particulate matter 2.5, is a certain size range. And that's sampled all over the world. And throughout the U.S., most of the air pollution is in the eastern, say, third of the country, and then California has huge levels. And wherever there's high PM 2.5, that has a higher incidence of Lewy body and Parkinson's dementia. Now, that's an association. It doesn't prove anything. But then they went into a mouse model of dementia, and they showed that if you have mice inhale the particulate matter, they develop dementias. And in the brain, they can see Lewy bodies in the nuclei of neurons, which are made of alpha-synuclein, this protein that misfolds it and makes fibrils. And so they can take these, in fact, they can make these fibrils in vitro too by adding air pollution to neurons, and they can take those and put them in mice and they get dementia. So it's a wonderful experiment in mice, and the correlate is in the epidemiology. So it's just wonderful paper. I liked it very much. It just, I mean, it's great science, really great science. Raw P. Dogger, hello, welcome. No, it's today. Today is Wednesday. Maureen is in Northeast Ohio where it's rainy and chilly. Carol, our favorite nephrologist, Bakersfield, California, 21C. Costello got a pregnant cat off the street today, so she's very distracted. Good luck. I hope it all works out. Vanity, the camaraderie here and the great information are the best medicine. You bet you're going to feel better by the end. GSD Bio, Jonathan Encinitas, 18C. How does it feel that New York City is a communist state? Well, I know you're joking. He's not a communist. He calls himself a socialist, but he really is more moderate than that because he's got to get along with other leaders in New York, and he will. He'll do the right thing. Rita's in southwest Idaho, where it's blustery, gusty, and even presenting lightning bolts. Cool. John is in Chiang Rai, Thailand, with his bottle of Listerine. What's up with the Listerine? Are you trying to fend off infections? Elizabeth is in West Virginia, windy but warm. Carol got her first Shingrix vaccine this week. A little sore, but not too bad. You are on the way to preventing some dementia, a certain fraction, not 100%. But then, I don't know, you could probably wear a mask a lot, and it would help too. Yeah, that's okay, Pete. Alpha-synuclein. So it's a protein misfolding disease, and so are prion diseases, probably so are Alzheimer's and other dementias. It's very interesting. SRR is in Paso Robles, California. Oh, excuse me. Privyet, Veronika from Moscow. The time difference has grown. Yeah, because we went ahead an hour. It's in this nonsensical daylight savings time crap. So we're even more separated. It's 5C here. As a leftist, I'm happy about New York City election results. I hope his policies will be successful and mindful of epidemic risks. We shall see. I did not like the previous mayor at all. So hopefully this will be better. Read ahead. Outdoor work to do. Not a fan of being out there when lightning bolts are striking. No, be careful. Be careful. Brandon is in Covington, Louisiana. Since you're talking about tick-borne illness, is a mini lecture on conserved mechanisms of neuroinvasion too in-depth or something of interest? Yeah, we could do that. But next I want to do gene editing. Star by supposed to snow, 90% chance this Sunday in Chicago. Kip. Hello, Kip and Laura from San Francisco. Thank you for your contribution to science communication. 17C in showers in San Francisco. It's too bad we're not hearing in the lay press about the promising study showing COVID-19 vaccine as an adjunctive cancer therapy. It had a little splash in the media a couple of weeks ago, but now it's died down. But yes, I mean, we did our part on TWIV, right? We publicize it. Yes, we do. Vexing cat. I get slammed with politics all day. This used to be my one safe place. It's been sad to see the intrusion of politics. I'm sorry. When politics impinges on science, we intrude. And I agree tonight, I intruded a little more than normal, but that's just because it's a special night. I wouldn't do that anymore. But when politics impinge on science, I'm sorry, we have to talk about it. Very Nika says, every accusation is a confession. Indeed. Barb tries. Okay, Barb, I'm sorry. I've been saying for who knows how long, Barb trees, and it's right in front of me. Tries, T-R-I-E-S, is tries. But that's that sneaky English language, it can just come up behind your back and fool you. Barb tries, Durham, North Carolina, 18C. Jill is in Wilmington, where it's 62 F. Gorgeous sunset earlier this evening. Changsha temp is 16C, not whatever he said before. Laura in Washington, PA, 13C and very windy. Star by 41053 in Chicago. Logotic also in Chicago. That's our third Chicagoan. It's 10C, but feeling warm from last night's results. Regarding tick-borne, is there any word of that research on Martha's Vineyard vaccinating mice? I don't know. Against what? I mean, you can. So one thing that people have done in the past, you take a toilet paper tube, the cardboard thing that's left over, and you could stuff it with cotton that is impregnated with like ivermectin that will decrease the tick burden. And you put it out there, and then mice will bring it back to their nests to use it, and they will be deticked. Deticked. It's probably not a word, but. Veronica, can't decide if I should listen to that twin, because over here air pollution is bad, and I'll just get sad. And all places I want to live in also have bad air. I'm sorry. Well, we just told you the results, so if you want to hear the details, go listen, because you already know the results. Rip to Comp is in Taos, New Mexico. Welcome. Mike, 12C, and raining in Seattle. Razor says, I lost my cousin at 48 to small cell carcinoma. Canceling mRNA research in cancer is disgusting. It is. It is disgusting and inhumane, and the ignorance of inhumanity. You could wear medical masks for pollution, sure. Yeah, but that's kind of... sorry we have to do that. What has to be made? A pair of glasses that will somehow divert all the pollution and viruses too. Why not? And the glasses will have a pump in them that very strongly pumps everything away from your nose, particulate matter. And this is the technology that we'll be able to do in 50 years. See, I've been reading too much William Gibson. They can do everything in 50 years. Rita worked 2 seasons working wildfires. I took in a lot of smoke. Now I'm older and I think of that. Yeah, you got a lot of particulate matter there. Also, if you mix cement, when you cut the bag open and dump it in the cement mixer, a lot of particulates go up, and people in construction don't wear masks. But you can see certain professions are going to be prone to that. EHS Talent is in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, where it's very windy. Starby wants to know if anyone is from Portland, Oregon. Eliza, 7C and windy in southern Ontario. Got my vaccines for flu and COVID Monday. No side effects. As a Canadian, I'm excited about your recent elections. Tom writes, my understanding is that furin cleavage sites in coronaviruses are not a new thing. A quick search brought up quite a few good papers. Okay, they are in coronaviruses, but sarbecoviruses, the SARS related beta coronaviruses, right? The genera of coronavirus, alpha, beta, delta, gamma. The beta coronaviruses have some of the human pathogens, and they have the SARS-related coronaviruses in there. And we hadn't found any. So this new one in bats is not a sarbecovirus. It's different. But it doesn't matter. It's still out there. It's all a matter of sampling. That's why we hadn't seen it before. VexCat, look, it's my program. I get to determine what I talk about. If you don't like it, you know what you can do. I don't want to say leave, but don't preach to me, please. Like, that is preaching. Time to get to the science. I don't like it. I don't like anyone preaching to me. I like people teaching me and explaining. We're saying, this is not quite the way you say it. That's fine. But don't tell me how to run my programs. Unless you have a good suggestion. That's not a good suggestion. Raw P. Dogger, 13C in the UK and cloudy. I had to search it up because I'm not outside. Hello, Rona from Long Island. Enjoyed the cotton candy colored sunset today. I don't know if it's on the books or not, but we're supposed to have a Gowanus walk next Saturday. We're supposed to be this past Saturday, but it didn't get arranged, and I thought we were going to next Saturday. So we'll see. We'll have to talk to Kim about it. I mean, it's not a big deal. We're going to get together at some place in Brooklyn and walk the length of the Gowanus and talk about it, right? It'll be fun. Patricia, after video on HPV, I did a CEU at CDC on HPV dating back from 2019. So in my obligatory comments, I wrote to update info, but added maybe some anti-vax goon is reading it or no one. Hans is in Ecuador, where it's 29C and raining. Christina, is from Hershey, 61F. Patricia writes, I think all staff should have obligatory C. diff training. It annoys me when some people think you can smell it. You cannot. Costello's in Indiana. You know, it's all the same anyways. Corn and soybeans. Forests are nice too, though. Thank you. Rita writes, both of my parents lived long but had dementia symptoms. Nearing 70 years, I'm a little scared. Get good rest. That's not so important. Use your mind. Exercise. Okay? I got 2 out of 3. I can't get the good rest part. Ah, yes. Very neat. I'm very happy about the potential of Gardasil 9 to fight against already existing infections. Means we should vaccinate at any age, right? Yes. Any age, for sure. Even if you have a lesion in that paper, if you vaccinate before the surgical procedure, you're better off. But yeah, everyone should get it for sure. It's great. It's a great result. It's amazing. Hello, Sandy. Good evening, everyone. Oh, I had quite a ride home from dropping someone at the Buffalo airport. 2 hours of wind and rain and really dark, wet roads, but you're home. Good to be safe. Very good. The Indiana Fever. Huh. I didn't know that was the name of them. Interesting name. Do you think anyone would have virus in a sports team's name? The New York Viruses? I guess not. Will says, air pollution, wear an N95 outside if the U.S. air quality index is above WHO guidelines. It's not a bad idea, but, you know, there's still particles there you're inhaling. I don't know. Sandra. Okay, Sandra. We will... I will call you Sandra. Not 4. Right. It was 2. Very good. Pat is in Nova Scotia, where it's 7 degrees Celsius. Area ozone is in Asheville. cooling down from today's high of 22°C. Click the like button, folks. Let's see. We got 113 people and 74 likes. So yeah, hit the like button. That would be great. Just see if we can get some more people here to suck up some science. Hello, Steve in Kauai. Good to have you here. Sandy writes, by the way, Bill Gates gave climate change deniers a win in their minds. Damage to climate communicators, ammo for the heartland idiots. Gates got his orders and tech on steroids while helping people. So yes, he says it's not as bad as we think. He shouldn't say that, because now everyone said we won. The administration said we won the battle. That's it. There's no climate change, which is not what he said. He said it wasn't as extreme as we thought. But what's the point? What's the point? Just don't say it. Yeah, it's a bad communication of science. Really bad, Bill. I think you've done a lot of great things with your money, but that sets us back. Mr. Gates did not have to write that paper. He's absolutely right. Diagnoc from Ottawa. Hello. Okay, Patricia, don't minimize what happened elsewhere, okay? It's great. The New York City result is incredible, yes, but New Jersey, Virginia, Proposition 50 in California, it's all good. Don't say meh, please. You can say whatever you want, but frankly, I think it's a good sign that the golden Agent Orange is not popular. Susan Weiss, the corona expert, said some viruses had a furin cleavage site. Yeah, they do, but they're not sarbecoviruses. That's all. Climate warming will bring more suffering. He's a billionaire out of touch. Okay, sermon over. DBDBA had my annual physical. Doc said it might be better to wait until 60 for shingles vaccine due to waning effectiveness and prevalence in the 70s and no booster regimen. Let's see what the recommended age is. Oh, interesting. CDC still says 50. No, I think you should do it at 50. Because I got shingles at in my 50s. A lot of people do. And 60, no. Look, in 10 years, if a study comes out showing you need a third dose, you just get it. But right now, get your 2 doses and get your protection. That's my opinion. It's not medical advice. Okay, Visto, do we know what in tick bites causes alpha-gal syndrome? Yes, it's a carbohydrate, right? Let's see. Yeah, alpha-galactose. So the tick takes a meal on animals that have alpha-gal, and we don't have alpha-gal. Many of us don't. And so then when we eat it, we make an immune response to it. And then whenever we eat meat, we make an immune response to it. Herpes cure with Listerine. Well, it's not a cure. It may ameliorate the cold sore and the blisters, but it's not going to get rid of the DNA. Okay, the DNA is integrated in your peripheral neurons, and it's there to stay. Yeah, I think you should get it at 50. I agree. It's so weird how every state has the same names for towns and cities. Yeah. Yeah. Springfield. Almost every state has a Springfield. EHS talent prevents dementia by keeping my brain busy listening to super smart people like the TWIV crew. Thank you, EHS talent. But here's the thing. watching TV is not using your brain. All right, you can watch TV, you can do what you want. It's your life. If you want to watch sports or entertainment, it's fine. I minimize it because it's not thinking. What is thinking? So what I'm doing tonight, I'm answering your questions. I have to think. Reading papers in particular, which I do a lot every week for the podcast, that's thinking. Doing a podcast where I'm discussing the paper and having feedback from other people and going back and forth, that's thinking. Preparing for a lecture and giving the lecture, that's thinking. Now, you can figure out other things that are thinking. Do reading. If you read and pay attention, I could sometimes read a page and say, what? What happened? Because I'm thinking about something else. You can't at least I can't multitask when I read. I have to focus. And that's why I can't listen to, this is very interesting, I can't listen to spoken books in the car. I tried, I cannot follow. But a podcast, I can. It's just a conversation. It's perfect because you don't have to get every precise word, right? Diagnog, I should have sent my greetings above en français, as I know that Dr. Racaniello comprend ma langue maternelle. A little bit. I took 4 years of French in high school, and I really had a great French program. I just still remember to this day the teacher up front, and she would ask a question, and the class would repeat because it was a pre-answered question in French. It was great. I learned a lot, and I learned all the verbs and conjugating and present, past, and all the tenses. Really good. I didn't use it, but I can see things in French and like understands my mother language, my mother tongue. I don't think a person can use willpower. I didn't say it was willpower, did I? I said read and, think and exercise. You're not using willpower. You are doing things that are shown to associate with with a lowered risk of dementia, right? Not willpower. Not what I said. Wouldn't say something like that. Hello, Aubrey, Richmond, Virginia, 17C. The results from last night have clearly demonstrated the humans left in the U.S. can still learn. Some of them, there's some still that have not learned. Luther, hello from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Nice to see you. Gabriel Hugh Gibson is in Greenville, North Carolina. We're at 62F. SRR is donating through YouTube to raise the algorithm. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Frogstar, I appreciate you talking about politics. Keep it up. There's nothing that is not political. It's important to speak up and voice the truth in these times. Like I said, I'm very passionate about being able to do science and public health in the U.S. And it's being screwed by politics. So I'm going to talk about those politics. Salutations aux fans de Virology from Serge, Ottawa. Welcome, Diagnog. Phil Nelson is going to subscribe. This is good. Going to go viral. Subscribe. We'd love it. We're almost at 140,000 subscribers. I'm going to check it now because it was close. Let's see. Where is my Chrome? Here we go. YouTube. Let's see. 139,000. Let me get you the exact number. 139,891. It's close. It's great. Love it. I don't know how long it'll take to get there. Tractor Poodle is in Bangkok, where it's 27C and cloudy. Nice to see you again. SRR, there it is, donating through YouTube to raise the algorithm. Thank you very much for your contribution to science communication. Wear medical masks for flu, COVID, colds, and pollution. You can wear it as often as you want. So here's what I do. I take train every day. Occasionally I take the subway. I wear it on the train and the subway. When I fly, I put it on to board and I wear it as much as I can. Well, I wear it throughout the whole boarding. Wear it till I'm in the air. If I'm going to eat, I'll take it off. If I'm going to sleep, I'll sleep with it on. And then to deboard. Restaurants, less so because you got to eat, right? It's a problem. Hopefully it's a spread out restaurant or ideally outside. Red Hen 689 from Southeast Pennsylvania. Welcome. Phil wants to know what's wrong with mRNA research. Nothing is wrong with mRNA research. It has become politicized, right? So RFK Jr. canceled $500 million in BARDA funding for mRNA vaccine research because he thinks that they're bad, and there's zero evidence that they're bad. You know, there have been tons of safety studies since they were licensed, the COVID mRNA vaccines. Sure, a few people get myocarditis. They recover. It's a treatable illness, and it's a lower frequency than getting myocarditis from COVID. So if you say, oh, I don't like mRNA vaccines because they cause myocarditis, I'm not going to take it. Well, that's dumb because if you get COVID, you're going to have a higher incidence of myocarditis. But you could say, well, I'm in another country, I could take some other vaccine. Go ahead, that's fine. In the U.S., the only option is mRNA or Novavax. So you can figure it out. Nothing's wrong with mRNA research. There's no reason to badmouth it. RFK Jr. just lies about it. He says the COVID vaccines have killed more people than they have saved. This is a lie. It's not true. Just unbelievable. Charles A. Wind advisory for Lyndhurst and Northeast Ohio Lakeshore counties, 49F. Star Climber 10C here in southwestern British Columbia, and wholly agree with your take on scientists versus the current brand of U.S. politics. Absolutely necessary. Thank you very much. Hit the like button, folks. Raw P-Dogger, how hard would it be to actually mutate a virus? I've seen people talk about COVID being made on purpose, which is just stupid. But I always thought mutating a virus would take your life's work. You could introduce base changes into a viral genome quite easily. In fact, I pioneered it for animal viruses with poliovirus in 1981, okay? So I started this whole business of being able to change viruses. I wouldn't say that I thought of something unique. It was what everyone wanted to do, and I happened to do it first, okay? So you could take a DNA copy of poliovirus and change some bases. Sure. Most of the time, the changes are going to make it lose infectivity. But to change a virus so that it can cause a pandemic and it transmits so beautifully, no, that's a nature thing. That's not a human thing. Humans don't know how to do that. Sorry. I don't care. I don't care who you are or what you say. I know it. I've been doing this kind of mutation for years, and we just don't know what to do to make a virus really transmissible and pandemic quality. But it's not hard to change. In a lab that knows what they're doing, they could do it relatively easily. Okay, Questel, a dude said he worked in a limestone mine and the government said there was a level of particulate matter in which is not damaging to health. Laughing my ass off. Indeed. So the level just means that it's less likely that you're going to get a dose that you need. But eventually, if you have constant sampling, you will, right? How do bats carry that many viruses? Well, that's a good question that people have been wanting to answer for years, right? What is it about bats that they have so many viruses? They see probably more viruses than any other species. How do they do it? Well, we don't know the answer, but one idea is that um, bats, fly, and flying generates oxygen radicals, which have to be dealt with. Otherwise, they will cause damage to the bat tissues. And so their immune systems are ramped up to deal with oxidative stress. And so the idea is that then takes care of virus infection. It keeps them dampened down. Now, which is not to say that bats never get sick. They do, but they seem to have more viruses and not be sick more than any other species. So it all is about the immune system of bats. Will says everything in 50 years. Way back, they said there'd be permanent bases on the moon in 50 years. That worked out well. Well, they weren't thinking clearly. Going to Mars is problematic. It's going to be difficult. And it's going to kill some people, right? I mean, if you get sick, what are you going to do? Take months to get back to Earth? Tough. Frog Song says the DO appears done more damage to the U.S. than any foreign enemy, bar none. I would say yes, but also in terms of science and public health, more damage than anything. The NIH has been trashed. The CDC is limping. The FDA. It's horrible. It's horrible because research helps people live longer. Hans says, since 1918 flu pandemic was caused by H1N1, and that virus is still in all continents, and transmission is still continuing, is it fair to say that the pandemic hasn't ended? No. The pandemic is that initial phase where the virus is spreading uncontrollably. We can't do anything. More and more people are getting infected. And then after a couple of years, it slows down, largely because of immunity. And that H1N1 became a seasonal influenza virus, causing yearly outbreaks, less extensive than a pandemic, and eventually we could control it to some extent by vaccination. But yes, the H1N1 that's circulating today is a descendant of that virus, but it's not causing a pandemic. It's causing epidemics, annual epidemics, which is not to minimize its effect, right? It kills people and it costs money in lost days, but it's not a pandemic. But some people, that's a good question. A lot of people make that point. Luther found a paper showing that flavivirus-related RNA viruses persist in DNA form integrated in the genome of 80 species. So I haven't seen the paper. I could look at it. No, I can't even copy this. But here's the story. DNA fragments of many RNA viruses can be found integrated in the chromosomal DNA of cells. Because it happens randomly, right? So that the RNA virus is in the cytoplasm replicating lots of copies of RNA. And some of that RNA makes its way into the nucleus and gets reverse transcribed and can integrate randomly, just pieces. It's not the whole genome. And it's not an obligatory part of the virus reproduction cycle, okay? It's an accident. And you can find many viral sequences, even flu and others, integrated into various animal genomes. So this is nothing new. Area ozone recounts after 9/11, I had FEMA come to evaluate my apartment only a mile north of the towers, and the awful continued burning was a health concern for me. Airborne pollution, yeah. I think that was a big problem for a lot of people. Rita tells Jeff, be careful with ivermectin. It can be lethal to some dogs. There are anecdotal reports that dogs eating ivermectin-treated animal manures can be badly affected. Go on his field trip. Hopefully next Saturday. I hope so. Because then Sunday I'm going to Toronto for a week. Gabriel, one of my professors is tentative about new vaccine developments because he says the adjuvants we use are still not well characterized. What is your opinion on this take? He's a seasoned virologist. Well, many of the attributes are well characterized, okay? Aluminum salts. They're aluminum salts. It's well characterized. Squalene is a lipid. It's well characterized. The TLR agonists are well characterized. So I don't know what your professor is talking about. Of course, they're well characterized and they're safety tested. I mean, we don't, Shingrix has aluminum salts as an adjuvant in it. They're well tested. They're in people in many, many doses, and they do follow-up safety studies. So the vaccines are much better because of them. These protein-based vaccines, even Novavax has an adjuvant. You need an adjuvant, otherwise they're not going to work because they're not replicating. Barb tries. Worked for over 15 hours during the election yesterday. Found out this morning that there is hope for democracy in the U.S. and I'm now ready for Shingrix vax. Thanks to you and Dr. Griffin. Yeah, thanks to Dr. Griffin. Thank you. Ritaj from Tallahassee, currently 16C, and the forecast says it will be -1 next Monday overnight. All right. Okay, I'm sorry I misinterpreted. Vexing Cat 9813. Always a possibility on this forum, okay? We're all good. Ivermectin works well for worms. However, multiple studies have shown little help for SARS-CoV-2. Isolated anecdotes without a comparison group. Big numbers, statistically valid is required. There have been many studies of the use of ivermectin for treating COVID patients. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. Let's see. Yes. Frog says, lots of drinking water to help prevent Alzheimer's. Really? I didn't know that one. I'm out. Oh, look at this. Ribosome Studio. I was a student in your virology course online long ago. I loved the class. Glad to see you followed me on Instagram recently. Yeah, I've been seeing your posts. They're great. Now, why did I follow it? I think, didn't Jolene make it a pick a couple of weeks ago, and I started following it? But I see lovely animations. So glad you got inspired. That's cool. Cool. Tona, the Saturday the 15th, possibly. Yeah, we're going to finalize it this week, okay? Optimal website. If you're still having trouble sleeping, try a small sugar-free snack. Waking up can be caused by being hungry. It's possible. I seem to be waking up less since I started taking magnesium, but, that's anecdotal. I wake up mainly because I fall asleep on my right side, right? I have to sleep on my side. And then my hip gets starts to ache from being on it for a couple of hours, and then I wake up and roll over. So that's it. But, lately it's been only once or twice waking up, and I usually fall back asleep, so it's good. Star Climber, can Gardasil cure current warts? No, because the genotypes of HPV that are in the vaccine are the sexually transmitted ones that are associated with cancer. So they're different from the finger genotypes. So it's not going to help you. Will says, dementia. The Lancet came out with a paper highlighting 14 known risks for dementia. My sister had a perfect score, but still got dementia after COVID. You think it was COVID-induced? Well, it goes to show that we don't know everything, right? I mean, dementia is a multifactorial disease, and so it's going to be hard to eliminate all causes, but you can decrease the incidence in a population because right now, the incidence of Alzheimer's is going up and up and up, and that's a huge burden on the healthcare community. We don't have unlimited people to take care of Alzheimer's patients, right? And then you go into a nursing home and they take all your money, Brandon wants to know, for tick-borne illnesses, would skin-based vaccines be effective? Well, I don't know what you mean by a skin-based. You mean like a microneedle patch where you Band-Aid it to the skin and it puts the antigen there? It could be. I don't think people have tried it. Would viral antigen or tick protein be a better target? Oh, that's a great question. So a viral antigen would be a good target, but also ticks. And there are some vaccines, I think it's mosquito saliva proteins, experimentally have been shown to provide protection. So yeah, it could be either one. It's a good idea. Phil says, for bacterial infections, can we combat them with an opposing virus? Yeah, phages, for sure. We have a problem with antibiotics. There's a lot of antimicrobial resistance, right? And so people are exploring phage therapy, where you would treat an infection with phages that lyse the bacteria. So that's a real thing. It's already been used experimentally in many places, and people are working furiously on it. Yes, Phil, for sure. John says New York's women's basketball team is the Liberty. They're quite good. Their mascot is Ellie the elephant. No viruses, but maybe they'd like to go viral. Now, nobody would want a basketball team or any sports team caused by viruses. Called viruses, excuse me. Frog Song says Gates is not an authority on climate change. He knows computers. Pete says Gates was talking his book. Wants more money for his health programs. Now USAID is slashed and he's having to fill the hole. Vista says maybe I should get Shingrix. I'll take 30% less dementia. I can't time travel to get rid of all the car fumes. Oh yeah, you can reduce your risk. That's what it's all about, right? It's never going to be zero, but if you reduce it, it helps. But anyway, you should get it to avoid shingles also. It's kind of a painful thing. Tractor yesterday put us back in the fight, and if you don't think politics impacts virology and science, read about the different U.S. city responses to the 1918 flu pandemic. Yeah, politics certainly impacts virology and science. That's why I talk about politics, because the funding comes from the federal government. It's controlled by Congress, so therefore it's political. Hello, Truth or Dare. Don't worry about being late. You're here. Herpes, that friend you can't say goodbye to, or unlike love, herpes is forever. I kind of like that better. A little cynical, yes. Carol says, I am 66. The pharmacist, Carol, you look like 40. No way you're 66. The pharmacist at Costco said, my insurance covered the cost of Shingrix. I suspect your insurance will cover as well. I did not need a prescription. Every town and city had a high street. That's right. Or a main street, right? Listerine is a cure because it breaks the herpes reproductive. No, it's not a cure. Frog Song. It is not a cure. You will still have viral DNA in you. Okay, Listerine will just care for the blister. Barb tries. I saw the discussion about the Gardasil vaccine, and you said everyone should get it, but what if I'm 70, had high risk HPV diagnosed years ago, but no longer have a cervix? It can cause other kinds of cancers too, okay? Like oral and anal cancers. So I think still worth getting. From a scientific viewpoint. Now, a doctor's going to say, I don't know, maybe a doctor would realize that there are oral mucosal cancers caused by HPVs and anal cancers as well. Jeff read research that provided evidence that reading requires more brain activity because one's imagination must fill in the gaps that watching images does not. I don't have the link. That sounds reasonable, right? So that a movie is doing everything for you, basically. Although I find I don't watch a lot, but I can't follow plots sometimes. They're complicated. I can't figure it out. And so when I used to go to theaters, I was annoying because I'd always say, what's that? What's going on? What's, that kind of person. So I don't know why. I think they assume you understand more than you do. But anyway, I agree about reading. Yeah, I agree. Nevitt said, I learned better English by learning Latin and French. He said, yeah, well, it is a source of English, especially Latin, right? Virologists should know a little French just because. Well, I do. Je peux parler un peu en français. Je m'appelle Vincent. Je suis un homme. J'habite à l'États-Unis. If I talk a few weeks, I could sound better too. My accent sucks, but my Italian accent is better. Is the new bat corona actually a coronavirus? Well, yeah, it is a coronavirus. It's clear. There are signatures of coronaviruses. But it's distantly related. I can pull it up right here. I have the paper right here. Let's look. Where is it? It's right here. Hold on one sec. So, real-time querying. Where is it? Here we go. A divergent beta coronavirus with a functional furin cleavage site in South American bats. Okay, so it's a beta coronavirus, very clear. The furin cleavage site is RDAR, Arg asp alanine Arg, as opposed to RRAR in SARS-CoV-2. So it's very close. Only one amino acid difference. So it's a new subgenus. It's not a sarbecovirus. But nevertheless, it is a coronavirus, for sure. Is a coronavirus. A Frenchman should know a little virology just because. Hello, Melinda from North Carolina, 63F. Beautiful full moon lighting up the clouds with rainbows. It sounds nice. Barb tries. It should be 139 million. I would like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I think we could have such a big reach because if you have 1 million, you get seen a lot, and it's easy to get 2 and then 3. And 1 million is a high bar. I mean, look, it's taken us years to get 140,000, but I'm not giving up. We're going to do it. I don't know how yet. Spread the word, folks. You can help. Questella, thank you so much for your contribution to science communication. Really like it. Really appreciate it. Sorry, we have 140 people here now. Great. 117 likes. Hit the like button, folks. Would love it. Will says medical masks are no good for pollution. You need an N95. Okay. Jeff says, one thing I do not hear mentioned with regards to staving off dementia and other brain problems is getting enough good sleep to allow the lymph system to clean out the brain. There are papers. Yes, so sleep is the third one. However, I was driving in a car with a neuroscientist, an MD from NIH a couple of years ago, and he said, sleep, not so much. He said, if you exercise and use your brain, that's going to help you a lot. You don't need the sleep. But if you can get it, take it. I'm trying to sleep better. Marge, thank you so much for your contribution to science communication. Nurses, thank you for masking. Yeah, when I go to a healthcare center, I mask, but the people aren't masking anymore. Phil Nelson, virus mutates all the time, naturally. Yes, all the time. Every time a genome, a DNA or an RNA of a virus gets copied to another, it mutates. Such high frequency, yes. And that's how viruses evolve, by making lots of mutations that can then give it the ability to enter new realms. Aubrey writes, I'm beginning to adopt the view of the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. All Homo sapiens aren't human. Improvements until proven so, especially here in the U.S. Last night was a test. Some passed, some failed. Yeah, well. Ariozon writes, it sort of helps to remember that little RFK is wholly unqualified for the job, which is how he got the job. That's true. It's like the press secretary, right? Whatever her name is. Actually, she's qualified because she knows how to lie with a straight face. So, you know, the administration is not paying food SNAP money, food supplement money, right? Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And the court said you have to pay it, and he's not. And so someone asked the press secretary, why isn't he? And she says, oh, he's in full compliance with the law. Oh, my God. So the skill of being able to lie without making a face is amazing. I don't like that skill. I don't want anybody who can do it, because I don't think you should lie. Mark Twain said, if you don't lie, you don't have to remember anything. Abdurrahman, hello from Brooklyn. Good to see you. Abdur visited the incubator last week, and you are welcome to visit as well. Just send me an email. We are a planet of viruses. Yeah, I do have that book here. Where is it? A planet of viruses. I have too many books to be able to just find one and pull it. Here it is. Here it is. By Carl Zimmer. A Planet of Viruses. Let's see if it's signed. I have a signed copy. This is not it. It's probably at the incubator. Planet of Viruses. Jeff writes, lies are a big problem in our society that values free speech. They work because most people do not read valid scientific papers, and so the lies circulate. Facts are facts, but there is but one reality. It's so well put, Jeff. I agree. Okay, let's do a I want to show you this news article first, and then we'll do a little mini lecture, and then we'll come back to you. So this is a Nature article. It's paywalled, but you can see the first few paragraphs, so we're going to just riff on this. So the name of this article is Biotech Barbie says the time has come to consider CRISPR babies. Do scientists agree? Okay, so I find this article a little bit offensive, but let's talk about it. So this young lady is Kathy T. Okay, so she left college at the age of 18, and she founded a biotech company and has launched several more. So she's an entrepreneur. Okay, and her latest venture, she calls herself Biotech Barbie. Okay, but I don't know that Nature has to propagate that. She refers to her latest company as the Manhattan Project. She started a company to alter the genomes of human embryos to prevent genetic disorders. Okay, She says, we have a duty to patients with incurable, debilitating diseases. A majority of Americans are in support of this technology. So the problem here I have, Kathy T, or Ty, however you say it, is I don't think that the question was properly put to the majority of Americans. As you say, you're interested in making a lot of money in a company. I understand that. But don't say things that aren't true. So she wants to correct genetic defects before the baby is born, right? So you got to modify the germline. Plenty of scientists are worried. So Manhattan Genomics is the official name of her latest company based in New York City. And it was launched with Ariona Hisoli, who used to be the head of biological sciences at Colossal Biosciences, a company that de-extincts species, which is another misnomer. They don't de-extinct anything. The dire wolf was not extincted. They just made a wolf with some of the properties of that animal. Okay, fine. So they haven't revealed the details of its plans, whether diseases with which targets and which technology. This bar for safety is so high. Now remember, there was a scientist in China, He Jiankui, 2018, announced he had used CRISPR to edit a human genome, embryo genome, to make them resistant to HIV. And 2 girls were born because the father was HIV positive. But he was put in jail for 3 years. Look at this. T and He had a personal relationship earlier this year. How interesting. I must have talked a lot. I just don't. So part of my problem is, does she really know what she's doing? Because she didn't really get a proper academic training. And don't tell me that being in a company and thinking and reading is enough. It's not. Okay? But what's the problem here? The problem is that CRISPR can do off-target cutting. So in CRISPR, you design a guide RNA to target a gene. But sometimes it targets something else, and then you can have problems, right? Now, they say there are new technologies that will get around that. Here's the lady who used to be in the company that supposedly de-extincted mammals, but they didn't really. They have some new technologies, they say, that have fewer off-target effects. So I thought maybe a good mini lecture will be to talk about CRISPR and these other 2 technologies and how they are similar and how they differ anyway. So what do you think? I mean, most scientists in the world think we're not ready. We're not ready to do this. Why would you make a company? So you need to do a lot more basic research. That's not what companies do, okay? A company makes a product. And venture capital people are not going to invest for you to do 20 years worth of research because there's no profit on the horizon. So I don't understand what they're doing, unless they're going to break the law and just go ahead and do it. But I'm wondering what you think. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's paywalled in nature, but you can read the first 6 paragraphs or so. It's okay. Okay. So that's my one news item. Biotech Barbie, please. Just talk about science, okay? Okay, now for a mini lecture. Tick-borne infections. All right. What's a tick? I know you all know what a tick is, but let's make sure and define it. A tick is a parasitic arachnid. And then you say, Vincent, you're defining something with words I don't know. You know what a parasite is? It's something that takes something away from another organism, right? So ticks are taking your blood. That's a parasite. Arachnid is an organism that has 2 body regions, 8 legs. Dixon would always do this, right? That's 8 legs. No wings and no antenna. That's an arachnid. And the order is Ixodida, okay? So that's what a tick is. Because there's some pictures here. Look, here, these are all they're different kinds of ticks. There are 2 major families, right? You got the Ixodidae, which are hard ticks, and the Agricidae, which are soft ticks. So here's a soft tick on the left, and here's a hard tick on the right. So these are external parasites, or ectoparasites, right? They sit on your skin or your hide. They feed on your blood. They feed on mammalian blood. They feed on birds. They feed on reptiles. They feed on amphibians. And so they are hematophagus. Sorry, I had the accent on the wrong. Hematophagus. They eat blood. Phagin is the Greek, I think, to eat, and hema, blood. So they're hematophagus, and there are two families, as I said, the soft and the hard ticks. The cool thing about ticks, how do they find a host? Well, they find them delightful, of course, but how do they find them? Well, they usually sit on plants, and they quest. So this is very cute here. This is a tick questing. They're sitting on the blade, and they put their front legs out. Look, isn't that, it just looks so cute. I know you think I'm sick saying a tick is cute. It's so cute the way the legs are out, and they're hoping that an animal will bump into it and they will grab onto it. That's called questing. And, so you could walk through even grass, which is a few inches high. If they're in there, they may grasp onto your ankle. They may crawl up a bit, and you wouldn't even know it. You're not going to feel them. Of course, if you're going through high grass, you have an even greater chance, and even your arms can get ticks on them. So that's how they get a host. They can get into mammals of all sorts, not just humans. Okay, so that's what a tick is. You got it? Tick-tock. So here are some virus diseases that are transmitted by ticks. Okay, I have a bunch, and then we'll talk about some other things at the end. So first is bourbon virus. This is a negative strand virus with 6 negative strand RNA segments. So think of influenza virus. So here's a phylogenetic tree of bourbon virus here. And you can see on the same tree are the influenza viruses. So they're somewhat related to influenza viruses. They have an envelope, they have a glycoprotein, and they have a 6 negative strand RNA segments. There have been a total of 8 known cases so far globally, 3 in the U.S., and of those, 2 of them are fatal. 3, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. And so it can cause fatal disease, right? It's spread by the lone star tick, or at least we think. Ambuloma americanum, which you can see here. That's the lone. This is a U.S. tick. Okay, you don't find this anywhere else. So if it has been found in other countries, but it must be vectored by a different tick. Now, the way I should have put a figure on transmission here, but I forgot to. The way these work is that the virus is usually harbored in some mammal, non-human mammal in the environment, and the tick bites them, takes a blood meal, gets virus with the blood meal, right? Then the virus remains in the tick as the tick digests the blood, and then when it goes for another blood meal on a human perhaps, or another animal, non-human animal, then it gives the virus to that person. And so there's typically a reservoir that the tick feeds on, and this includes for this virus white-tailed deer, raccoons, opossums, dogs, and horses. So whether they're all involved in the virus, we don't know. All we know is that this tick feeds on those hosts. And the symptoms, they all have very similar symptoms with a few exceptions. Fever, fatigue, rash, headache, body aches, nausea, and vomiting. Okay? Nothing to do. Once you're infected, we just give supportive care because there's no antivirals or anything like that. Okay? So there's bourbon because it was first discovered in Bourbon County, Kansas. Right. Then we have Heartland virus. This is also a negative strand virus, but a different family, Phenuiviridae, and these are negative stranded RNAs in 3 circles. It's an envelope virus with glycoproteins, and inside 3 negative strand circular RNAs. There have been 60 cases so far discovered in the U.S. These are the states where they've been found. You can see a little bit northeast, south, Midwest. And it's, again, spread by the Lone Star tick. another U.S. tick, an American tick. The reservoir, white-tailed deer, raccoons, horses, coyotes. It's the same as I said before because that's what the tick bites. Fever, lethargy, fatigue, headaches, myalgia, loss of appetite, nausea, diarrhea, weight loss, arthralgia, leukopenia, and thrombocytopenia. These are very generic symptoms. So if you have these, you have to think, where have I been? Have I been walking through a field or the woods lately? And could be that I got a tick bite. We'll talk about what to do about that in a bit. And we have Colorado tick fever virus. This is not a U.S.-centric talk, but a lot of these are found in the U.S. It's a big country. We have a lot of ticks. We have, deer ticks. We have Rocky Mountain spotted ticks. And we have lunatics. Did you know? We have lunatics. Okay, Colorado tick fever virus. We have a lunatic in the White House. Colorado tick fever virus is a double-stranded RNA virus. It's in the spina. Sorry, I was going to correct this overlap, but I won't. Spina reoviridae. So if you know reoviruses with double-stranded RNA segments, it's the same idea, multiple double-stranded RNAs. Here's the geographic distribution, mainly the West. It's spread by the Rocky Mountain wood tick, shown here. And 3 to 7 cases a year in the U.S., not a lot. Reservoir, white-tailed deer, raccoons, horses, and coyotes. And look at all the symptoms. Again, kind of like every other tick-borne disease. So we got light sensitivity, pain behind the eyes, muscle pain, generalized malaise, abdominal pain, etc., etc. I like this one, a flat or pimply rash. That's different than the other ones. But 3 to 7 cases a year, you're not likely to get this. Powassan virus. It's a positive strand RNA virus. It's a flaviviridae, right? What else is a flaviviridae? West Nile virus, yellow fever virus, dengue virus, okay? Plus-stranded RNA. In 2025, there's so far been 40 cases. And from 2004 to 2024, there have been 397 cases and 50 deaths. It's a lot. So look at this is the incidence over the years from 2004 to 2024. It's just slowly rising. I don't know if that's awareness, diagnosis or what. I mean, this is all of the U.S., so it's not huge, but 50 deaths is a lot. It's spread by a number of different ticks. The black-legged tick in the eastern U.S., the squirrel tick in the northeast, the Great Lakes of the U.S., the groundhog tick, east and central Canada and northeastern U.S. The groundhog tick comes out in the spring to see if it's ready to be spring. No, I'm just kidding. That's the groundhog. Well, it must be on the back of the groundhog that comes out and looks to see if winter is going to continue a while. This tick bites squirrels, woodchucks, mice, and skunks. And we have fever, headache, vomiting, weakness, encephalitis, and meningitis. 10% mortality rate. That's pretty high. Powassan, okay, not Powassan, Powassan virus. Then we have tick-borne encephalitis. Now we're leaving the U.S. for a bit. This is a big one. This is, again, a flavivirus, a plus-stranded RNA virus. So, it's got, I didn't show you, but the plus-stranded RNA is in the capsid, and it has a membrane, and then the glycoproteins are laying flat on the surface, so they actually cover the particle. 10 to 12,000 cases per year in Europe and Asia. You can see the range here is in blue. It's spread by various ticks, Ixodes ticks like this guy here. He's questing. See, his front legs are out. He's questing. Come and get me. Pick me up. And rodents. So the virus is in rodents, and the ticks pick it up from rodents and give it to people. I'm sorry. So you can catch it from a rodent. That's what this means. You can get it from ticks or rodents. The reservoir includes rodents, insectivores, deer, wild boar, and goats. And the disease is meningitis and encephalitis. And because there's so many cases, a year. I mean, that's a ton of cases, right? There is a vaccine for tick-borne encephalitis virus. So if you go to these areas of Europe where it's endemic and you're going to be outdoors and hiking, you should definitely talk to a travel doctor to see whether this vaccine is right for you. Another big one, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus. This is a negative strand virus, a nairovirus, which means 3 circles of RNA that are negative stranded, envelope virus with glycoproteins. 10 to 15,000 cases a year with 500 fatalities. It's about 10 to 40% case fatality rate. And these are the geographic locations. So the red are the most cases, right? The Crimea, right? And then the Congo are the 2 places where it was first found. And then, China's got a high level here, 5 to 49 cases a year. Red is 50 or more cases a year. Brown is 5 to 49, and so on and so forth. So this is not a U.S. disease, as tick-borne encephalitis, not a U.S. disease. Spread by hyaloma ticks, we have right here. The reservoir of the virus is in cattle and sheep and other livestock. So the ticks, of course, bite those animals, they pick up the virus, and they give it to humans. And the disease is hemorrhagic fever, as you can tell by the name, right? And, hemorrhagic fevers are not good. Ebola hemorrhagic fever, right? Marburg hemorrhagic fever. So this is serious business. But people are working on vaccines. In fact, we have had several TWIVs with guests, notably one I did in Sweden a couple of years ago, where the guy was working on a vaccine for CCHFV. Okay. Another one, not U.S., Omsk hemorrhagic fever virus. This is a negative strand RNA virus, no, it's not negative strand. Let's fix that. It's a plus strand RNA virus. It's a flavivirus also. It is here in western Siberia, which includes Omsk, which is where it was first identified. 100 to 200 cases a year with a 0.5 to 3% case fatality rate. And it is spread by multiple ticks, dermacentered various species, and ixodes and small mammals are the reservoir of the virus. So there's one of these ticks. I don't remember which one it is, probably a dermacenter. And chills, fever, headache, severe body aches, vomiting, diarrhea, bleeding from your nose, eyes, rectum, and encephalitis. So it's another hemorrhagic fever, which, again, is not good. Not good to get hemorrhagic fevers. And now this one is not a human tick-borne disease, but I wanted to include it because it's the only arthropod-borne DNA virus. Right? All the others have been RNA viruses, you notice. This is African swine fever virus. It's a double-stranded DNA virus, an asfarviridae family. It's kind of a poxy-like virus, right? Large double-stranded DNA virus. The only known, I don't like these spelling errors, Vincent. Got to do some better proofreading. The only known arthropod-borne DNA virus. The vector is a soft tick. Ornithoderus is a soft tick right here. And the reservoirs are wild pigs, bush pigs, warthogs, not humans. Humans don't get this. This is a non-human virus, it's a problem in domestic pigs, right? That you're raising for food. It causes hemorrhagic fever with a very high mortality rate in such pigs, and so it's economically very impactful, and therefore there's a vaccine available for those pigs. Here's the range of this virus. So we have kind of Eastern Europe here. We have Russia and China here, and parts of Africa as well. Not yet in the U.S., but people are worried because this is, this impacts protein production, pork production. So it gets a mention because it's a DNA virus, very unusual. And there are a bunch of bacterial tick-borne diseases, right? You should be familiar with some of these because if you go walking through the woods, unless you're a virologist, you're not going to get a viral disease from a tick. Just kidding. Anaplasmosis. This is a bacterium, Anaplasma phagocytophilum, spread by black-legged ticks. Babesiosis, also black-legged tick, Babesia microti. These are bacteria. Ehrlichiosis, the lone star or black-legged tick spreads these Ehrlichia bacteria. Then we have hard tick relapsing fever, because we got another typo here. We don't have a proper italics. Okay. So hard tick relapsing fever, black-legged tick spreading Borrelia. And Lyme disease, of course, the black-legged tick spreading Borrelia burgdorferi. It's also called the deer tick. Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It is a rickettsia bacteria spread by the American dog tick, the brown tick, and the Rocky Mountain wood tick. And finally, tularemia. The bacterium Francisella tularensis, spread by the American dog tick and the Lone Star tick, can also be spread by the deer fly and infected rabbits. So this bacterium infects rabbits, and they can give it to humans. This is the so-called lawnmower disease. If you're cutting your grass and you run over a dead rabbit that's died of tularemia, it will aerosolize the rabbit, and you can get it. There are cases where people cutting grass get tularemia from running over a rabbit, a dead rabbit, on their lawn. That's a serious disease, tularemia, very serious disease. What do you do about this? If there's no vaccines for most of these, right? Well, then you have to prevent tick bites in the first place. That's the only option. Or stay inside all the time. That's the other option. Or restrict your movement to sidewalks and parking lots. And so if you want to hike, you should wear long sleeve shirts, long pants, and socks. Yeah, I know it's not so much fun if it's a hot day, but that will really keep the ticks off your skin because they're going to find your skin. Tuck the pants into the socks. Tuck your shirts into the pants. Use insect repellent on your exposed skin, even clothing. Or you could treat your clothing with permethrin, which we talked about on TWIP. It's an insecticide that will kill the ticks on contact. On TWIP, we talked about a study where they impregnated baby rats in Africa with permethrin, and it reduces the incidence of malaria. Very interesting. Wear a hat, preferably a MicrobeTV hat, to protect your head and scalp. And then when you get back, you have to do a tick check. Look behind your ears, under your arms, in your groin, between your legs. You know, it's not easy to see your back, so hopefully you have someone with you who can look. But you need to do tick checks because you will find them and you didn't even know they were there. And taking them off is another story. I'm not going to deal with that. And then wash your clothes in hot water and dry them in a dryer, and that would kill anything that's in the clothing because maybe there's still some nesting around, moving around in your clothes, and you took them off and now they can't find someone. That's it for tick-borne diseases. It's a lot of them. Need to be careful. Watch for those ticks. Okay, let's see here. Back to the questions. Oh, yes, Visto. Took me a while to understand how large numbers are involved in virus replication. Yeah, billions of random tries works eventually. Yeah, it's just the numbers game with viruses. Eventually, they're going to not only make the right mutation for whatever the circumstance is, but find a host as well. DBDBA, thank you for your support. of science communication. Your answer to my question essentially paralleled my conversation with my doc about shingles vaccine. Lots to learn. I'm planning on taking it. We'll assume a booster will be approved later. Science first, data first. Thank you. So there are 2 Shingrix shots. It's a 2-shot series, spaced a certain time apart. And then you're good for a while. And if in the future you need a 3rd shot, you'll know. Just follow the science. John, thank you for your support of science communication. Another great week of programming. Regardless if news is good or bad, programs like Twin show us good science. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nevitz writes, as Vincent has always said, viruses and all other living organisms, well, all living and other, and living organisms, because viruses are not, well, they are. A virus is an organism with 2 phases, a non-living and a living. So we'll call viruses living. Are always mutating by themselves. It's a natural, mainly random process. That's right. Abdullah wants to know, is it the omnivore aspect and living in all kinds of environments? What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're asking about. Snap. Snap is unfortunate, yeah. I think first trips to Mars will be one-way trips. I think so, too. I'm not going. But some people will go. They'll get brave souls, yeah. Mars can support only small Antarctic scale colonies. We need to stop destroying our ecosystems here if we are to avoid an extinction event. 50 years ago, Nevitz writes, they said we'd have unlimited energy from clean fusion. In a way, we do have clean, unlimited energy from fusion from the sun. That's right, we always have. That's right, we can harness it to make power, right? But guess who's canceling alternative energy sources? I mean, does anyone on this call really want, this live stream, does anyone really want us to abandon alternative energy? Like what? Solar, wind, water, what else you can think of? No. I certainly don't want more coal. That's leading to more PM2 particles and more dementia. Phil Nelson, flu virus predictions. Which will be the strain we need to vaccinate against? I don't know what your question is, but we already have vaccines for flu for this season that have been predicted based on what is circulating in the southern hemisphere during our summer, which would be their winter. And we don't know if we get it wrong until the season's almost over and all the numbers are in. But that's a job that the CDC does, okay? And frankly, I don't trust that we're going to get the right numbers because so many people have been fired. Who knows what's going on there? But that would be the idea that after the season's over, you can get an idea of how well matched the vaccine and the circulating strain is. But they've all been picked for this year. Stay well hydrated for everything. Yeah, I'm drying out. My glass is empty. But it's okay. Not much time left. Mark writes, it would be interesting to see if bat species that are solitary have the same immunological advantages that the bats that live in huge colonies of millions. I understand. It's a good question because the big colonies are going to be exchanging viruses all the time. Yeah. I don't know that that's been done. It's a good question. Do you have any insights, Luther asks, into why the duration of humoral immunity varies so widely for different viruses? So there is a theory that was promulgated by Amy Rosenfeld, which is that viruses that have a systemic phase give more durable humoral immunity, the antibodies. A systemic phase meaning they're in the blood. And viruses that are mucosal have much less durable antibody memory. And you can look at, and I've shown this slide before on office hours, you can look at the durability of antibodies for different viruses. And the longer ones with many years, poliovirus, vaccinia virus, etc., they cause systemic infections. They're in the blood. And the mucosal infections, influenza, SARS-CoV-2, etc., those are shorter lived. And so why being in the blood makes a difference, we don't know. But that's the idea. How much viral DNA is in the genome? Is it even worth asking? Yes, of course. It's worth asking, and it's helpful because you want to know, does it do anything? About 11% of the human genome is viral, which includes retroviruses that have integrated and stayed there, and other pieces of viral DNA. Now, it's worth asking because some of that is repurposed. So, for example, the gene that makes possible having a placental in certain mammals, female mammals, is a former retroviral gene, the spike glycoprotein, which was taken away from retrovirus DNA in the genome and used to build the placenta. And there are other examples of that too. So totally very interesting. And there are other elements that jump around the genome that jump around based on reverse transcriptase as well. So we have a lot of viral DNA in us. 11% is a lot. Melinda writes, toothpaste derived from human hair could provide a sustainable and clinically effective method for protecting and repairing damaged teeth. I don't know where that comes from, Melinda. I'd be curious to know. Interesting, right? Mark read a paper implying that the flu of 1918 was mostly an active TB. Maybe some, but not mostly. No, I don't think so. I don't know that we understand the contribution of that either. It's a long time ago, and there's not much data from it. DBDBA writes, a simple daily small dose of magnesium is amazing for sleep. I tried. I've been doing it for a few weeks. I think you need to do it for a while, but I don't know why, because it's certainly mostly excreted within 24 hours. So, but I think I'm sleeping a little better, but we'll see. I'm also changing pillows all the time. So, I'm changing too many variables in my experiment. In my quest. Tryon, hello from Romania. Nice to see you. Do some antiparasitic drugs induce interferon release? I don't know. Let's look it up. Oh, unusual. Nothing's coming up. So I don't find any evidence that antiparasite drugs induce interferon release. You'd have a hard time hurting yourself with magnesium. You poop the excess out. First use of the word poop on office hours. Frog song. Last night my neurologist said drinking lots of water flushes amyloids in the brain. Amyloids? I don't know what an amyloid is. Yeah, it's a gemstone. Certainly not the right word. It's not a gemstone in your brain. Yeah. Keith Robinson. Hello, 2C and drizzling in Winnoway, Quebec. Getting my SARS-CoV-2 vaccination tomorrow. Glad to be joining you. Tony, what do you know about dementia risk when one has the gene variant and one ApoE4? So ApoE4 is one of these risk factors for dementia. I don't know what the numbers are. Let's look it up, because that's how they make mice that are models for dementia, by putting the human ApoE4 gene. Let's see. Good question. The strongest known risk factor, but does not guarantee dementia. One copy of the mutation, 3 to 4-fold increased risk. 2 copies, 12-fold higher risk. And a lifetime risk for Alzheimer's dementia, 60%. But it's not the only thing. So it's a substantial contribution. It's the single most significant. Well, that was before air pollution. Air pollution was very high, at least the epidemiology, yeah. If it's 8% of our DNA contains remnants, and another 40% is made of repetitive strings that are thought to have a viral origin. So, I'm not sure the 40% is viral, but 11% for sure is viral. I'm not sure about the rest. Well, we did a mini lecture on these elements a while ago. It's in there. Yeah, you can get diarrhea if you take too much magnesium, or the wrong kind, right? What's the kind that, I don't even remember what the kind is, but you can't just take magnesium sulfate. You're going to get diarrhea. You have to take some other magnesium. Let me look it up. Magnesium glycinate. That won't give you diarrhea. Barb tries, has been an avid reader all her life. My life would not be as good without it. Still need a book in my hand for the full experience. I do like books, but when I travel, I don't want to carry books. Yeah, I think a lot of people swear on magnesium, but the studies, if you look at controlled studies, they're not so good. Yeah. And so, your mileage may vary. Let's put it that way. Watch the movie more than once. Yeah. Usually the second or third time you get it. I know. Very Nika writes, Gates is a good man, in quotes, check out his position on vaccine patents. I don't know what that might be. Maybe so you could enlighten us. Coronavirus is a description for the shape, type of virus, generic. So, originally coronaviruses was based on the way the virus particles look in the electron micrograph. But now we sequence the genome and classify them as coronaviruses. So all those viruses that we originally classified by electron microscopy, they all cluster together by the genome sequence. And now when we discover new ones, the gene sequence puts them in with those as well. So it's no longer just by morphology. Mickey the mouse. Why are mosquitoes such good vectors? Because they take blood meals, right? Mosquitoes and ticks, and also some flies like deer flies. They take blood meals. There are a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of ticks, a lot of different species. And the females take a blood meal so that they can lay eggs. The males don't. They take sap. The males are sap suckers. And the females take a blood meal so they can lay eggs. And then they pick up viruses from an infected host. And then when they bite the next host, they give the viruses to that host. Now, a mosquito lasts about 2 weeks. And so the most they can bite is 2 people. They have to bite a minimum of 2 people, but that's usually the most they can bite. Because they get a blood meal, they don't need to bite for a while, and then they go bite, give virus, and then die. So that's why they're good. They take blood meals, right? And they have to, well, you get blood from a mammal or birds. Mark, Norman French is from the upper class Norman nobles. Anglo-Saxon is Germanic surf words. English is a classicist dichotomy. Okay, I don't understand any of that, but it's okay. Pete, for your amusement, we went to Cape St. Vincent last month with partner's dad and her nephew. Both have Vincent as middle name. Compulsory photo, southwesterly point of Europe. That's cool. Cape St. Vincent. Jerry Nika says, with my horrid sleep quality, I'm getting dementia at 50. Well, maybe you could change it. Maybe you could change it. Hello, viruses. Luna, Rima, how are you tonight? Exercise is a good way of cleaning out the brain toxins. Sleep well. Carol read a book that sleep affects your response to vaccines, so I always make an effort to get a good night's sleep before getting a vaccine. Logotic says, Keith Richards says he sleeps only 2 days out of 3, so he's actually 120 years old. So tonight's theme is sleep, not viruses. Jeff writes, regarding anti-vaxxers, nurses must get vaccinations to work, I believe. Is there any research looking at disease prevalence between nurses who get vaccinated and those who did not, if they refuse? I don't know if they specifically looked at that profession. There have been multiple studies of COVID in healthcare workers, of course. I don't know if they had a non-vaccinated cohort. I just don't remember. But Daniel has talked about it a lot, right? Tom Hanks said he masks in public. Performing in a live theater, he cannot afford to get sick. Did you see the Instagram post on that? That's where you're getting that from? So he did an interview with one of these late night guys. Yeah, and he said, he has a picture of him on a subway with a mask on. And he says, people still look and try and see if it's him. But yes, he said he's doing a play in New York at the moment. He can't afford to get sick. Yeah. Abdur Rahman says, I highly recommend visiting. The studio is cool and I got quite a gift. It's far. I need to fly to New York. Well, I'm going to be in somewhere in the Midwest next year. So maybe we can meet. All right. Would the Shingles vaccine help with dementia prevention for someone immune to chickenpox? Let's see. I think in the paper it had an additive effect over infection, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, should even if you had chickenpox, you should still get it. Logotic said this is giving me the Theranos vibes. Oh yes, there's a company who could do everything with a drop of blood. Yep. Okay, that colossal people are absolutely a money grab and red flag. Theranos vibes all around. Yes, yes. What's classified as a genetic problem to be solved? No, not homely or gay. No, none of that. This is multigenetic. You can't. But a single gene, a monogenetic problem, right? But they didn't even say which ones they're going to deal with, and many of them you can do gene therapy, or you will be able to do gene therapy. So you don't need to risk doing embryonic CRISPR or whatever, which is fraught with off-target effects. Yeah. So Dagfin writes, all of you are recommending remedies for sleep disorders. Please realize there are numerous causes and a recommendation is useless without knowing what causes the problem. So there was, my pick on Twiv Friday was a Nature article on what scientists say about sleep, how to get better sleep. And none of these drugs were involved, nor magnesium. It was all about the quality of light, how much you eat, and getting outside at least once a day and so forth. You should check it out. Excuse me, it's a Nature article. This is a long time back. Someone once asked if the HPV vaccine called sterilizing immunity. It does not. We checked, and no one has ever checked to see if infection is prevented. What they check is cancer, and it completely prevents cancer, but it doesn't prevent infection. Could you please repeat the name of the author of The Planet of Viruses? Carl Zimmer, Zimmer. Not an academic. Is CRISPR a process for low-level manipulation? Yeah, it's a process for taking the DNA in a cell, in the cell, and altering it, editing it in some way, right? So you introduce genes into the cell, and they go in the nucleus, and they can fix whatever problem you want to fix. Yeah. Just had to feel my entire scalp. Ticks, lunatic. All right, so everyone seems to think that this lady is a grifter, this biotech Barbie. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to say that. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Absolutely. Totally. You have to wait until it's proven, right? All viruses are parasites. Ticks are arachnids. That's right. If I slipped and said insect, sorry, I did define them as arachnids. Right. It's an arachnid, not an insect. I know people like ticks. Everyone's saying ticks are creepy. They're kind of cute with those questing legs. No? Okay. Ticked off at ticks. Ticks make it hard to love them. Do you like mosquitoes? Yeah, bourbon virus. Have a drink. Oh boy. Dagfinn writes, I remember from my birthplace in southern Norway, walking through the high grass in white pants. Had me come out with black pants on the other side. Lots of ticks. Well, that's how they capture them now. You take a white cloth and you just drag it through the grass or whatever, the underbrush, and you'll get lots of ticks. Bourbon virus is from my county, Bourbon County, Kansas, the first isolation. Do ticks do anything positive? Probably. Food for various animals, birds, reptiles, and mammals. They control animal populations, ecosystem balance, nutrition cycling. So yeah, there are a lot of things that that ticks do. Like everything else on the planet, it's there for a reason. It evolved. It evolved. Yeah, tick-borne encephalitis is endemic in Russia, the Russian Federation. Yep. No, is that true? Ticks do a lot of things. Just Google it. You'll see. Now, ticks are here to do things. Why do people die from infections? Multi-organ infection, perhaps, or even if it's just respiratory tract, you can't breathe, etc. Massive inflammation, many reasons. Do lunatics bite? Yes, they do. Yeah, raw pea doggers going on a walk, worried about ticks, but realizes it's in America. It's pretty rare here. It's pretty rare here, yep. Birds eat ticks, yes. Are there any tick viruses that affect birds? Yeah, there are. I didn't look at them because they weren't humans, yeah. Yeah, arthropods. So is there a general term that includes insects and arachnids and all creepy crawlies? Arthropod. Yeah, an exoskeleton, differentiated segments of the body, and paired jointed appendages. So that would be insects and arachnids. Yep. Okay. I said hematophagus. It's not hematophagus. No. Here in the U.S., it's hematophagus. What percentage of ticks carry infectious disease? It's a good question. I thought there would be some good questions. Up to 50%, depending, like Lyme is up to 50%. Yeah. We have many memes about Omsk here. Tell us some of them. A lot of comments here on the ticks, which I didn't see. Sorry. Yeah, Babesia is a parasite. That's right. Sorry about that. Eukaryotic parasite. Yep. It did come up on TWIP. Yes, for sure. Wear an N95 mask or watch out for rabbits. Why do you use insect repellent for ticks? Well, yeah, but it still repels them. It's called insect repellent, right? It should be called arachnid repellent. A lot of comments here. Oh my gosh. All right. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. Holy gosh, you guys have so many good comments. But I'm afraid that we have to stop. I'm just seeing if there are any contributions here at the end. Okay. Bring your questions next week, folks, because we're out of time. I don't want to overstay our moderators. Thank you all for coming tonight. We had tonight moderating for us. Let's see if I can remember. We had Vanity Nutrition. We had Les. We had Tom. I think that was it. Vanity Nutrition, Les, and Tom. Thank you for moderating tonight. Thank you all for coming. We had 140 people and 148 likes. That's great. I think we'll be back next week. So next week I'm going to be in Toronto, and it's the same time zone as the East. And, you know, the hotel should have good internet, and it's 8 p.m. So, you know, I'm going to be in my room. So I thought, why not? But I'll know Monday when I get there if the internet is good enough to do it. But if it is, I'll do a live stream Wednesday, 8 p.m. That's November 11th, right? Yeah. 12th, sorry, Tuesday. Wednesday, November 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern. But just check the webpage, the calendar on MicrobeTV to make sure. Thanks for coming tonight, folks. It was really fun. You had a very lively discussion about all kinds of things, and hope you learned something. Until next week, be safe and stay curious. Bye-bye.